Bob's Breakfast.
The most stress your kids have ever caused you. Diana?
My son Glenn, when he was 4, he burnt my house down.
Hang on, wait, he burnt the house down? How did he do that?
He lit a little bit of paper under his brother's bed, and he expected his brother to go to bed and find his bed gone.
Yes.
But he ended up burning the whole house down, and we lost everything. And we lived off car boot sales and everything for ages and ages and ages.
Where did you live?
Me and my husband at the time slept around his mum's on the settee.
Oh, dear.
I was cooking sausages, and my daughter's boyfriend said, "You're burning the sausages," and I thought, "No, I'm not." And then your house is on fire, so we got out quick, and it was just everything.
Well, I'm glad everybody was safe. Wow. Yeah. All right. Do you ever let him forget it now? How old is he now?
He's 28 now. He lives in New Zealand.
Oh.
He remembers it.
Oh, he remembers it when he burnt the house down.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Hey, thank you very much, Diana.
Bob.
Let's get the latest news now. Chris Hubbard.
South Africa is the place to be if you want to get your clothes off. They are opening their first official nudist beach, despite ongoing protests against it.
And what's the name of the beach?
The beach is the Mapenjati Nature Reserve.
Because I found something with nudist beaches.
Right.
Okay. Now, I used to live in Dorset.
Yes.
There's a famous Dorset nudist beach. It's called Studland.
Okay.
Now, Studland sounds like a strip club where male strippers perform, doesn't it? But that's the name of the nudist beach.
Okay.
Okay. Before I lived in Dorset, I lived in Sydney. Do you want to know the names of Sydney's nudist beaches?
Go on.
One of them's called Lady Bay.
Yes.
And one of them's called Cobblers. I am not joking. You can Google this. If you just Google nudist beaches in Sydney, you will find out that Lady Bay and Cobblers Beach are two of Sydney's most famous nudist beaches.
Oh, dear.
Now, of course, are you just confirming that?
Just having a look. Top 10 nudist beaches in the world. This is for research if the boss is listening.
Just Google nudist beach Sydney. And it's the first one that comes up.
There's Banana Beach in Greece.
Well, there you go. You see, there's something going on here with the names of nudist beaches.
There we are. We're just having a look at the Sydney one.
Sydney, yeah. Cobblers Beach and Lady Bay. They are two nudist beaches.
Yeah, Cobblers Beach.
Yeah. I'm not making this up.
No.
My favourite, though, was when I lived in New Zealand, in Northland, New Zealand, the local nudist beach near us, Uratiti. That's its name. It's a Maori word. I'm not sure what it means, but that's the actual name of the nudist beach, Northern New Zealand, Uratiti Beach.
Are they doing this on purpose?
I don't know.
106 Bob FM.
Well, as long as there have been exams, children have, in many cases, always tried to cheat on them, but the teacher is supposed to stop them. The teacher is supposed to be the neutral party in these and make exam conditions very, very fair. Well, a primary school SATs results for an entire year have been rejected. They've been declared null and void after a teacher encouraged his pupils to cheat, a hearing was told recently. Now, this teacher asked students at the primary school in Gloucestershire to change their answers while they sat the tests. A local authority investigator was made aware of possible exam problems at the school, and following an investigation now, it emerged that he'd encouraged pupils to change them. He even amended some of the exam scripts himself. He went in there and changed them. He's been sacked as a result of this.
You can't argue with the logic, because it seems that, the way the world works, it's all about measuring and metrics and scores and stuff, and uncommon sense isn't taken into things. And, you and I know we've met people who've come for jobs at radio stations who have so many qualifications, way more qualifications than either of us.
That's very true.
And they're unemployable, some of them. Or certainly they're not the kind of person we're looking for. Oh, let me talk from personal experience. All right, without bringing you into it. It happens.
Yeah.
You know, we get these kids and they come to work here and they don't know the first thing. They'll put a piece of audio on a CD and won't even label the CD. I mean, just as basic as that.
But they want to change the world at the same time.
Yeah.
That's the main ambition.
And a lot of them want to work in the music business. Don't know how to break this to you. Music radio is not the music business. In fact, all the music has been recorded. We push a button to play it. We do the stuff in between the music. But anyway, don't get me started on that. But the deal is you have to get these numbers, these tickets.
Yeah.
So the teachers are told you got to teach the kids, and your performance as a teacher will be measured on the results the kids get. Logic would tell you, okay, I'll make sure the kids get good results.
Yeah.
Which is exactly what this teacher did. Wrong as it is, but if you're going to place the emphasis on the results and not what kind of kids you get at the end of the process. See, this is something, this is my thing at the moment. It's just everywhere. People measuring the wrong thing.
Absolutely.
And
it's something that can be put on a piece of paper.
Yes. And it's all because you can't measure awesome. Like, I can't, you know, I have played in many bands, rock and roll bands. There's a band I was in a couple of years ago, and one of the guys in the band had a stick up his bum, the lead guitar player. And he actually worked for the local council, which may explain why he was like this. And we were booked on this gig. It was a festival thing, and we were one of the acts on.
Mm.
And he said, it's really important that we finish on time. And I went, you know what? No, it's not. And he went, no, the organisers have told us we've got 20 minutes, that's all we've got, and at the end of that, we have to finish on that. So we might not have that time for that song. I said, look, this is our set that we've rehearsed. We're going to play our set. And he said, no, but we mightn't have time for that song. I said, we've timed it out, we will. If we do a longer solo in there, maybe it'll go over by 5 or 10 minutes. He said, well, if it looks like it's going over, we're going to have to not play that last song. And I'm like, but that's our finishing song. Look, and I sat him down and said, look, our goal is not to finish on time. And he said, oh, yes, it is. No. Our goal is to be awesome. If we have to finish late to be awesome, so be it. But all of a sudden, whether you finish on time is like the biggest thing in his head.
Yeah.
That's not what because you can measure that.
Absolutely.
And this happens in all sorts of ways, because you can, you know, some radio stations, this happened, I think it was in Canada last year. There was a radio station started editing all of their songs down shorter, so that all of the songs they played were only like 2 minutes long. They edited them down so they could play more songs per hour. They went out of business like the next day. They had to change the format. It lasted like a week because someone had said it's really important for radio stations to play more. The one who plays the most songs per hour will win. There's no correlation in whether you sell more advertising or have higher ratings. Those are things that you can measure that are important, by the way. But there's no correlation between that and the number of songs you play for. But they got obsessed with this number of songs you play per hour, and it nearly put them out of business because they were measuring the wrong thing. Your goal is always to be awesome.
It's interesting that you say that, because in between finishing school and going to uni, I worked in a factory. Well, it was essentially a wood yard for about 2 months. You had to clock in and clock out when all the way throughout the day. And that was their way of measuring what you were doing.
Yeah.
The majority of the blokes were sat on their backsides reading the newspaper for a lot of the time. And the likes of me and 2 or 3 others were doing all the work.
If you give people a target that can be manipulated, they will give you the results to that target, but they won't give you awesome. You want people who go to that wood place, they want awesome service.
Yeah.
Are they getting awesome? No, but we've clocked on time, and we've done this, and we've ticked this thing, and we've ticked this. And there's an obsession with this measurement of metrics that it's becoming out of control. And it's got to the point where this poor teacher has decided, well, if, you know, I know that I'm producing some awesome kids who come out, they go out into the world and they are awesome. But no, you don't get any credit for that whatsoever. All you get credit for is the number of the numbers they get, the grades in the exam. So he's meant, all right, well, I'll just make sure that you get the right numbers in the exam, and then everything will be right with the world. And no, that's a problem because it's gone. But this is where it leads. This is where it leads.
I mean, the panel who judged him said he may have felt under pressure to achieve good results for himself and the school.
Do you think?
But that can in no way excuse his behaviour, which, yeah, I mean, it's not right to manipulate exam results, but at the same time, he was probably under, the amount of stress he must have been under to drive him to that point.
This is a worldwide phenomenon. It's where people who don't understand don't know what to do to measure. They need measurements and they need numbers, so they'll start measuring the wrong thing. Now, obviously, exam results are important. You know, you want people to do well in the exam, but there's a lot more to it than that.
Bob's Breakfast with Norton Way Motors Letchworth.
How would you like it if, while you were having a relaxing moment, someone started using an angle grinder just a few yards away from you? Or a pneumatic drill? Or a chainsaw? Well, that's what happens in public toilets. It's all since hot air hand dryers became supercharged. Some of them now are louder than any power tool and more annoying than a bagpipe-powered leaf blower. Since hot air hand dryers were replaced with jet engines, some people think you can actually dry your hands on them. You can't. You've never been able to dry your hands on them. Even the ones fitted with the Rolls-Royce Olympus engines from old Concords. No, all they do is they warm your hands a bit before you dry them on your trousers. And the gents' toilet is the worst place to be violently assaulted by decibels. 'Cause not only is the problem made worse because the place is so echoey, if you're at the urinal, well, you can't put both your hands over your ears.
Bob FM.
The number of drivers given penalty points for using mobile phones at the wheel actually fell by nearly a quarter last year, according to figures from the police. This still is considerably a problem if police are handing out this number of fixed penalty notices,
It's
though.
a bigger problem for the rest of us.
Why is this?
Well, there's clearly a hole in the taxation system that has to be filled by fining drivers. And one set of drivers they used to get the money from were the ones who were daft enough to use mobile phones when they were driving. And there's not as many people doing that.
Seemingly not.
Or there are not as many people being caught doing that. So there's now a hole in that. They need to get the money from somewhere else, which is why I got a ticket for £100 for doing 36 in a 30 on a dual carriageway in Stevenage in broad daylight nowhere near a school.
It was £100.
£100 fine.
Wow.
For doing, and 3 penalty points for doing 36 in a 30. I would like to know how many lives have been saved by people doing 30 in a 30 rather than 36.
This was the whole thing when speed cameras first were out.
Yes.
They were put, or meant to be put in accident black spots,
Yeah,
weren't
well,
they?
this wasn't, because there's no speed camera there. Speed cameras are painted yellow so you can see them.
Yes.
This was a little maggot inside a van. and really, everybody speeds. So
I thought they were meant to be actually visible. Wasn't there a massive thing a few years ago where the police were going to make them visible?
I never saw him. And I have hypervigilance for this kind of thing. I never saw him, and he had me.
Because the police in the past, I know through family that they'd lie in ditches with the speed camera pointing out the top of it.
Yeah.
And that was all meant to be ended. It was all meant to be very visible. People
36 and 30. When you see some of the idiots on the road and some of the speeds they're doing, and I get £100 fine for doing 36 in a 30 on a dual carriageway?
On a dual carriageway?
Dual carriageway.
There's, I mean, the number of drivers, take the A1M or the M1, for example, the amount of people who must be doing 120
every morning I see them.
Yeah.
Every morning.
And drive like idiots, weaving in and out of the traffic.
Yeah, why aren't they catching them? Because they're too hard to catch. It's much easier to catch 100 people doing 36 in a you put the camera in any dual carriageway that has a 30 limit on a straight road on a sunny day, and you'll catch plenty of people doing 36 in that 30. We all speed. We all do 36 in 30s all the time. Well, if you're not making enough money for whatever it is you want to spend the money on, and don't kid yourself, they're not spending it on the roads. Have you seen the state of the roads? They're not spending it on the roads. It all goes into consolidated revenue. If they're not making enough money that way, then why don't they just charge us all a bit more tax? Because we'd all have to pay something like £3 a year extra in tax to make up this shortfall, instead of playing this shell game where you've got to guess where the camera is today. What is the one thing that your other half has that you wish they didn't? Badger.
Facebook account.
Really?
Yeah, because now that they can get it on their mobile phone and that, it's bad enough they spend half their life on Facebook, but then when you're trying to talk to them and have a sensible conversation, the mobile phone keeps beeping, and they're just chatting away to their friends, and you're like, well, I mean, the women ignore you most of the time anyway, but it does help if they pretend to listen to you.
It is amazing, isn't it, that women, they can blank out. You're talking to them, you know they're not listening. And it's a, you know, and you go, oh, well. But if you ever do that to them, not listening is a mortal sin in a woman's book. It's, you just can't do it. And the thing is, when they do it to you, your whole day has been involved in making sure that you get on the couch for the kickoff. Everything you make sure everything's done, you make sure that you're not going to get interrupted. The minute the game kicks off, they want to talk to you, and you're like, and they go, you're not listening to me, are you? And you're in trouble. Yet with them, you go, look, I want to talk to you about this, and you sit them down and you try and make sure that they're concentrating. You go, so have you got a minute to talk about this? Yeah. And then you start talking, and then they get distracted.
That's it. But off on a tangent.
Yes, yeah. It's never even. You know what I think it is? I think it is. Girls are brought up and they're told, oh, my darling princess, you can do whatever you like and you don't have to do anything you don't like. Yet little boys are brought up, it's like, hey, be a man, grow up, stop crying, you've got to do it, take your sister to the beach. You've got, we're told we can't win from a very early age, and they're told they can't lose from a very early age, so they think this is normal and fair, and it's massively skewed in their favour.
Bob's Breakfast.
Some breaking news. We've just heard that Tesco has reported full-year statutory losses of £6.37 billion. That's the latest from the Bob FM newsroom. More at 7:30.
Thanks a lot, Chris. And if you're listening from Tesco's, remember you can win £1,501 if you can work out what Bob's doing. I know that won't solve all of your problems, but every little helps.
Bob FM. Home counties.
Pets that do human things. Steve.
I've just taken on a rescue cat from a couple that were breaking up, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And this cat follows me around the house like a lost sheep.
Oh.
It's quite bless her. She's old.
Yeah.
But the weird thing she does, every single night, I mean, during the day she's fine. She does cat things, walking around the house, doing what cats do. At night, the lights go off. You lay down in bed, she follows you, and she lays on the pillow. She won't lay on the cat bed. She won't lay on the sofa downstairs. She has to lay on a pillow.
Your pillow?
Yes.
Seems to me, Steve, you got yourself a girlfriend.
Yeah, and it's not the kind of cat I like.
Oh, really? You don't like the cat that much?
It keeps trying to sit on my face.
Oh, dear. Okay.
It's like one of those suffocation cats.
Yes. There's a million ways I could go here, but I'm going to laugh nervously and move on.
No,
Thank you very much.
Oh,
no, I won't. Okay, then. So, what pets have you got or had that do human things? 01438 422 106.
Bob's Breakfast.
Detectives investigating the Hatton Garden jewellery heist have now released new CCTV images of the robbers and offered a £20,000 reward in a fresh appeal.
Is that all?
Just 20 grand.
Now, let's just, for instance, try this scenario. Let's say that these are a gang of builders. I mean, they did have high-vis jackets.
They did, yeah.
If they were a gang of builders who legitimately take out building work, they would have no form.
No
criminal form. No fingerprints on file. So there is no way that the cops will catch them. If this is, because that's the thing with a big job. Not that I'm sounding like the thing that the dumb criminals make the mistake of they do a job and it's not worth that much money. I would have thought the whole trick to a life of crime is to never be in trouble with the police in your life and then do one massive job and then don't do any other. That way you'll never get caught. Never.
That would obviously make sense.
If I was to do a bank job, if I was in that gang and was part of that Easter raid, I have an alibi, I was here. But if I was
going to say, there's no suggestion that Graham Mack was involved in this.
I'd just like to rule myself out right now. But if, for instance, I was in that gang, and I don't have all the skills, but I can gas weld. No, there was no gas weld. I can oxysettle in cutting gear. I can use that. I know how to set up a torch and cut that. I could do that. I could do basic stick welding. I couldn't do pipe welding, but I could do plate. I've got some of the skills. I'll probably be all right on a drill. Probably, be okay. Grinder, I'd be easy. I used to use a grinder all day. So, I've probably got some of the basic skills needed to do this job. Okay. If someone said to me, we're going to do this job, I go, what's it worth? And if they said to me, like, you'll get £20,000, I go, absolutely no way. No way. I am not risking what will it be at least 10 years in jail. At least. 10 years for £20,000. Now, if someone said to me, it's 2 million, I'd be tempted. Having no criminal record, never been in trouble with the police, and if it was just you did a 2 million job, you don't tell anyone, make sure you got your alibi all sorted out, you'd be tempted. See, that's a smart thing to do, but criminals, you keep hearing them, they're knocking off things for like, £6,000 here and £10,000 there, and there's 12 of them in the gang, and you think, well, it's just not worth. That's a life of crime. You don't want a life of crime. You want to retire on the one job.
It's 200 million.
I tell you what, I'm starting to think now, as a line of inquiry, if the cops have got nothing, it may well be some blokes with no criminal record who actually are builders.
So we'd never
know. I say this because I have a brief connection to a similar crime. It's a tenuous connection. I think I've told you before. I worked on an oil refinery construction job in New Zealand. I was a pipe fitter. And they had a certain part of the job was the shutdown, because it was a refinery expansion project. So at some stage they had to connect the existing refinery to the expansion that we'd built, which meant they had to shut down the existing working oil refinery and connect it up. New Zealand only has one oil refinery. That's it.
Right.
So for while this refinery was shut down, instead of importing crude oil and refining it, they had to import petrol, diesel, bitumen, all your petroleum products had to be imported into the country. The country was literally running out of fuel while we had that refinery shut down to connect it up. So we worked 12-hour shifts, night and day, non-stop, connecting it up. And there was big money on the shut. Everybody wanted to get on that shift.
Yeah.
And I got on one of the shifts. They called it the A-team. And they were 12-hour shifts, 6 in the morning till 6 at night, 4 days on, 2 days off, and then 4 days back on again, alternating nights and days. Big money, shut down. And of course you can't spend the money because you're just knackered all the time. So, and at my age I was going out drinking and whatever. So your spending has gone to zero because you're just tired because you're doing these shifts. And you're raking in all this money. It was brilliant for this time. And I forget how long it lasted, something like 12 weeks or something while the thing was shut down. So we were known as the A-team and we were given all the resources we needed. If you needed tools or a crane or whatever, they took it off the other, because they were still working on the expansion side of the job, but we were A-team, right? I'm watching New Zealand version of Crime Watch one night, and there'd been a bank job in Auckland.
Right.
And someone had cut into the vault with oxyacetylene cutting gear, and had cut into the vault. And the guy on the TV and the cops were there and everything, and the police have no idea who broke into but they do have this one piece of evidence that was left at the scene, and it was a welding glove.
Yeah.
And written on it in marker pen was A-Team Dave. And they held it up to the camera, and I'm looking, and I'm thinking, there's about 2,000 people I work with who know exactly whose glove that is.
Bob's Breakfast.
Still no sign of the royal baby. Is there something Kate can do to bring it on? From your experience, what does she need to do? Terry.
Castor oil and orange juice.
Castor oil and orange juice.
Orange juice, yeah. Well, it worked because the wife had 7.
Yes.
7 kids, and she said, I've had enough of this. So she had a glass full of castor oil and orange juice, and it started going.
So the castor oil and the orange juice mixed together in some kind of weird cocktail?
Yeah, just a glassful, or perhaps even a little bit, but it worked for her.
Okay, hey, well, thank you very much.
That's all right, mate.
All right, okay, so castor oil and orange juice, you swear by it. 7 babies can't be wrong.
Yeah, lovely. We might have had the local cricket team on standby to catch it in the slips, you know.
Okay, all right. Way too much information. Okay.
Great show, Graham.
Hey, thank you very much.
Mate.
All right, thank you. I must admit, I am very excited about the birth of the royal baby, especially if it happens today, because I have put some money on it with the bookies. And if it turns out the baby is named Bob Asmataz Razmadaz Trapang Trapang Ole Biscuit Barrel, I'm going to be a very rich man indeed.
This is Bob.
When you think of a funeral, you may be associated with flowers, coffin, dark clothing, maybe even the wake, but perhaps not strippers. Chinese authorities say they're going to push to end the rural practice of having strippers perform at funerals. Now, the culture ministry over there has put out a statement condemning the uncivilized habit of inviting exotic dancers to induce more people to attend the funeral.
So that's why they're there. They're not there because that's what Dad would have wanted.
No. Well, they're actually...
They're there to attract a lad to pull a bigger crowd.
Yeah, to boost audiences and boost attendances, because large crowds over there are seen as a mark of honour. So the authorities have previously tried to crack down on this custom, reportedly without success. But it is seen as something that happens rather a lot over there. The ministry named 2 recent examples where strippers have been invited to stage obscene performances, as they put it. In both cases, the organisers and performers have been punished. It said that they're also going to work with police to stamp out the practice as well. But this is one of the things that they say just isn't befitting, but people are still continuing to do it.
It seems... I mean, if it is what the person wanted... Surely, because, I mean, obviously, if they're doing it just to pull a crowd...
Yes.
And let's face it, that is why food and drink is available at a funeral. That's one of the most bizarre parts of the funeral. You go to the service and somebody says some things about the person and their life and stuff, and then you all go back somewhere, either someone's house or maybe if it's a big funeral, you know, it might be a pub or sort of a club or something, and you have food and drink. Well, surely that's only laid on to pull a crowd.
That's very true, because I know a fair few people whose mindset is on the buffet after the funeral, who I've spoken to in the past.
Yes, so that's the reason why they go. It's like, are you going to Dave's funeral? Is any food? Yeah. Oh, I might pop along. You know, so although this seems an extreme way to rope in a crowd, that's really what the wake's for.
It's very, very similar.
It just reminds me of an embarrassing situation I got myself into completely innocently when I worked for a local BBC radio station.
Where's this going?
Now, I don't know if I've spoken about this before, but it's highly embarrassing. It was in Wiltshire. It was BBC Wiltshire. And they decided, it was the Swindon breakfast show, they decided I was unknown in the area. And I'd moved there for the job. I didn't know the first thing about Swindon when I got there. So they had this idea, and on the face of it, a very good idea. They said, we'll send you out every day with a recording thing. You can record some, and just walk up to total strangers and tell them that you're the new bloke on the radio station and ask them to tell you 3 things about their area. So I would go to each part of Swindon and say, hey, you know, my name's Graham Mack, I'm the new bloke on BBC Wiltshire, I'm starting soon, and tell me 3 things about this area. Yeah, so I could get a kind of a feel for the place.
Yeah.
And meet a load of people. And, you know, sneakily as well, it'd be, hey, listen, when I start, you might hear yourself. You know what I mean? Because I've recorded them.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You know, and I did this with, I don't know, maybe 30 times, you know, and it's, you know, varying degrees of success. I'd walk into pubs or corner shops or bus stops and just, you know, like, you know, and it worked out quite well. And I went to this one area of Swindon, I forget which area of Swindon it was, because I had this list of each of the, it was 20, there were 20 different council wards. Yes. And I went to each of the 20. There were 20, right? So I went to this one, I forget which one it was, and I got there and I thought, and I looked around and there's not much there. I'm looking for something where there's going to be people. It's completely deserted. It's the middle of the day in the week. Everyone's at work.
I used to live in Swindon as well. And I know the atmosphere there sometimes.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. I wish I could remember because you'd know where it is. Anyway, I'm looking around just for something. I can't find a corner shop. There's no one at the bus stop. And then I see Royal British Legion Club. And I thought, well, okay, worth a try. So I walked in, place is packed.
I bet you thought you struck gold.
I did. And they're having drinks and nibbles and everything's going on. And I walked up to this lady. I said, hello, I'm Graham Mack from BBC Wiltshire. Tell me 3 things about this area. She said, 3 things. Okay. Well, my dad died. We had his funeral. And this is the wake.
Oh, no.
I gate crashed awake. The royal baby is still not here. Now, there must be a way of bringing a baby on, of helping things along. And, you know, Kate's probably listening right now. Elaine, you know how, but you don't want to tell me.
I don't know if I can say that on the radio.
What do you mean?
Well, a bit of the other.
Have you had a baby?
I've had 2.
Right. And did you bring them on?
No, they come quite naturally.
Right. So how do you know that, you know...
Because that's what, you know, that's what women talk about.
Is it, or did... You know, I'm wondering if men started this as a rumour. You know what would bring the baby on, don't you? You want me to help you out here?
It probably was one of those.
Okay, well, okay, we've got the theory, Elaine. Thank you so much. Okay. Maybe somebody knows from experience. Has this happened? Is this how you brought the baby on? Does this work? Or did you try and it didn't work? Can we get the science behind this now based on actual fact? How does Kate bring the baby on, and does that work?
We've heard no end about the childhood obesity epidemic, as many people are calling it. But now, scientists and researchers suggest there may be 2 distinct types of childhood obesity. One among really young children, where it's been blamed on fat parents.
Okay.
And the other is down to teenagers basically eating too much fast food. So these are the 2 groups that they've identified.
So let's see. The very young children, the ones who do not have any independent financial means.
Mm-hmm.
They've done a survey and they've reckoned the parents are feeding them too much.
Pretty much.
Now, I could have told you that.
Yes.
These kids are not going out at night, not sneaking out at night after the parents have put them to bed and trawling round for extra food. That's
Absolutely
not how the parents are feeding them too much. Okay, so the parents feed them too much for, 13, 14, 15 years?
That's right.
And then the kids do get a bit of pocket money. You know, with any luck, they've got, the kids still have paper rounds, I don't know. But with any luck, they're earning some money for doing chores, mowing lawns, making some money, or they've just got parents that just give them money.
Yeah.
Right? And these kids go and spend that on food.
Well, they've got the freedom at school as well, haven't they? In the early teenage years to go out and about.
But they've had their whole life, they've been overfed.
Yes.
So food has been an issue created by the parents.
That's where it comes from.
Yeah,
that's
so
the source of it.
Why? You know, we keep going on about childhood obesity. We should really be calling it parents who make their kids fat. If we want to be Because the kids, the very young kids are not doing it to themselves. They can't. They have no control. They're kids. And then we're surprised when they get to teenagers that they need more food and there's an issue with food since their whole life they've been overfed.
You know what really got me the other day while I was walking around town? There was a baby in a pushchair and the mum was feeding them really kind of fat chips from the fish and chip shop. This child can't have been older than like 5 or 6 months old.
Yeah. Now
that's where it starts.
When that kid becomes a teenager, they're going to have a thing for fat chips.
Well,
aren't
chips
they?
And salt and whatever else it may be.
Yes. And we've now got this generation of obese kids. They're unhealthy, and some of them don't look right. I know that's going to be hard for a lot of people to take, but you get these kids and they're dressed up in football shirts, but they don't look like footballers because they're all out of proportion. Footballers are not that shape. You might be, a foreign tourist may be forgiven for coming over here and looking at a kid in a jersey and think Arsenal play ice hockey. We're doing our bit for Britain this morning. How can we bring this royal baby on? Still no sign of it. Andy, you know what Kate should do.
Hey, curry.
Curry?
Yeah, curry's supposed to bring it on.
Now, are you talking from personal experience?
No, it's just what I've heard.
Just what you've heard? You see, I've heard two things, like gnocchi and curry are the ones I'm hearing. Now, I've still yet to find any proof of this, but, it does sound like blokes have come up with, for a bloke, he's gonna say, you know what, we should go out for a curry and then come home. That's his perfect evening. I think maybe blokes are skewing this. I just want to know if it actually works.
I don't know.
All right, okay.
An incredibly sarcastic resignation letter is in the news this morning. We're always told not to burn bridges when we quit jobs. You never quite know when you might need your old employers. And this person, well, clearly they'd had enough. They started the message. I'm so sorry that my stepmother died so suddenly. I'm sorry that I'm not a robot and was emotionally affected by her passing and had to miss work. I'm sorry that I got sick and had to miss work, that I didn't get anybody else sick. I'm sorry that I work 47.5 hours per week without getting paid the overtime that I'm legally owed. Clearly, I'm a terrible employee, and for that, I apologise. I know you hate people telling you how to do your job, but I suggest you start looking for my replacement immediately. So, this is how the letter goes.
See, it feels good in the moment.
Oh, yeah.
But it's not the right thing to do.
You have to take a step back, don't you, and think, will I need this person in future?
But, yeah, and it's because you're in a heightened state. It's like being drunk when you're angry or when you're in any kind of heightened state. Your higher reasoning literally shuts down. You get into a fight or flight mode. It's a survival mechanism. Blood goes to the muscles in your arms and your legs for fight or flight, as if you're being attacked by a saber-toothed tiger, and blood disappears from the higher reasoning centers of your brain. Your brain literally shuts down. That is why when you're in one of those things with your boss, and he's making you angry or whatever it is, and he's making no sense, and he's got it all wrong and whatever, and then you're driving home later, and you go, well, why didn't I just say that? Now I know what I should have said. That would have made it all clear. He hasn't got the full picture. And the reason is because your higher reasoning has switched back on then.
Is that the reason why?
That is why that happened. And that's why it happens. You should never do anything, make any decisions, send any emails, write any letters in a heightened state because your higher reasoning is shut down. You are literally a Neanderthal.
This is part of the problem with emails now, because once it's gone, it's gone. You can't put a letter, like you could do in the past, on the boss's desk and then take it away again.
Yeah.
That email's gone.
There is a way of switching your higher reasoning back on, but you've really got to be good to think about it. The brain hates loose ends. You've got to ask yourself a question when you're in the heat of battle. When you're in the heat of that thing, you've got to ask yourself a question like, how do I want to come across right now? Just something simple like that. It means your brain has to start working and blood starts getting diverted back to the higher reasoning to solve that problem. The brain hates loose ends.
Oh, really?
Yes, and that can help you. And the other one is, by all means, write those emails. Just don't hit send. Hit delete. You'll feel better. You got it out your system and no one gets hurt. And still no sign of the royal baby. What can Kate do to bring the baby on? Now, a lot of people suggesting the physical act of love. Does that work? Jackie?
It's a medical fact that the stuff that makes the baby in the beginning stimulates the baby at birth.
All right, we're getting a bit graphic now, aren't we?
No. Well, I've been trying to think for an hour how to put it nicely.
Yes.
It took me an hour to get me this far.
And that's the best you've got?
Yeah, but the doctor, I was listening to a doctor yesterday, and he said, I thought it was the actual doing it because it might have pulled the plug a bit, okay?
Okay, all right.
Right,
yeah.
okay.
Yes.
That's what I thought. But
Yes.
it's not. It's the actual stuff that makes the baby.
Okay. Now, have you had personal experience of this working? That's what I need. That's what I need. People are saying this, and people are saying the curry and the orange juice and the castor oil. I've yet to find anyone that says that this particular thing brings the baby on.
I haven't got experience that bring the baby on, but it's amazing trying it.
Okay, thank you very much,
brave
Jackie.
enough.
Okay, Jackie, thank you so much. All right, okay, what can Kate do to bring the baby on?
The European Parliament is set to vote on whether calorie labels should be put on all alcoholic drinks.
What are we trying to do here? The people who are reducing their alcohol intake because they don't want to get fat, we're now telling them which drinks they can drink so they can increase their alcohol intake without getting fat. Is that what we're...
That's conversely happened,
That seems to be the goal here. Do your bit for Britain this morning. The royal baby. Now, 5 days late. What can Kate do to bring the baby on? What's your birthing experience? What worked for you? 01438 422 106. Keith, can you help?
A farmer said to me, when my missus was a bit late, take her for a drive in your old Land Rover down a bumpy lane.
Right.
So, I've got an old Series 1, the 1961 Land Rover.
Yes.
We lived on the Isle of Wight, and the roads over there ain't particularly brilliant.
Yeah.
So we went out one Sunday house hunting, strangely enough.
Right.
So we're driving round and round and round all day Sunday looking for houses. Parked the Land Rover up, shoveled her out, got her back indoors. 2 hours later, let's get up the hospital.
No worries at all, eh?
Straight into 16 hours of labour.
Right, so have you still got this Land Rover?
I still have got this Land Rover.
Are you, could you do your bit for your country? I mean, is it available if I can get hold of Kate?
I'd have to drive down the Isle of Wight and go and get it.
Oh, it's still in the Isle of Wight?
It is.
All right, well, we don't know if we need that just yet, but I'll keep you posted.
Okay.
Keep the Land Rover on standby.
All right.
It's got tax and MOT?
Yeah, it's MOT.
Okay, all right. Keep it street legal. We may need it later.
See you later.
All right, thanks, Keith.
Bye.
What can she do to bring the baby on? Dawn, you say red wine, and this worked for you?
With one of mine.
Red wine works, does it?
Well, it did for me. I know they say you shouldn't have a drink, but towards the end, a curry and a red wine, and, you know, go back and do the detail, and that brought one of mine on.
Okay, all right. So you think Kate should be...
Should have feet up and a glass of red wine and a hot madras, yes.
Yes, that's what she should be doing right now.
Yes.
And if William's around...
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
All right, thank you very much. Cheers. All right.
No problem.
Thank you. I'm Graham Mack, international broadcaster. Yeah, I was on the air in America yesterday with Jean and Julie on Mix 101.5 WRAL. This is what they were listening to in America yesterday.
Jean and Julie on Mix 101.5. The Duchess of Cambridge, Kate Middleton, 5 days past her due date. We have an update directly from the UK. Joining us live is Graham Mack. He's a radio programmer from the UK.
Hello, how are you?
Oh, it's so good to hear your voice.
So is everybody on baby watch? Yeah, we're 5 days late now. But I hope the baby is born not today. I hope the baby is born tomorrow, because tomorrow is William and Kate's 4th wedding anniversary.
Oh, wouldn't that be funny?
Wouldn't that be nice?
That would be great.
That would be nice, really, yeah.
Do we know if this baby is a boy or a girl?
We don't know. But the bookmakers think it's going to be a girl. They're offering 7 to 4 odds, 7 to 4, on it being a girl and being named Alice.
Ah, and why the name Alice?
I don't know. I don't know what the inside track is. Alice beats out Charlotte. Charlotte is 5 to 1. Elizabeth is 11 to 2, followed by Victoria. The most likely boy's name, if it's a boy, is 12 to 1, and that's James. So the bookmakers seem to think it's going to be a girl.
Well, don't they kind of have to name the baby after a previous, person on the throne?
That's usually what they do, but if you want to make some big money, you could bet on Ringo at 500 to 1. I'm serious. You could take a bet. They will take a bet, and they'll give... I've looked for... no, you laugh. You laugh. But Jean and Julie are not even in... Jean or Julie did not make the list under 500 to 1 from what I checked out.
I am protesting.
So you are, the baby is less likely to be called Jean or Julie than it is to be called Ringo. That's the sad news, but these are the facts.
So now, would this baby, regardless of the gender, ever possibly be future king or queen?
The baby will be 4th in line to the throne.
Oh, so that's pretty significant.
Yeah, next in line to the throne is Charles.
So is Harry just getting further and further and further away?
Yeah, but I think he kind of likes it that way because the pressure's off.
So what is the order?
You know?
What would the order of succession be?
The order. Charles will be the king after the Queen pops her clogs. After Charles, it then goes to William. And then after William, it will be George, which was the previous royal baby. Right. And then it will be this next one. And regardless of whether it's a boy or a girl, because they've changed the rules on that. So even if it is a girl called Alice, Alice will be 4th in line to the throne.
Or a girl called Ringo.
Or a girl called Ringo.
Yes.
Princess Ringo. Queen Ringo. Yes. Yeah.
I love it. Well, thank you for coming on and giving us the scoop. We will keep following the excitement of the future royal baby. Thank you, Graham. Where can our listeners find out more about you?
mackmedia.co.uk. It's M-A-C-K. mackmedia.co.uk. All sorts of rubbish on there.
Great to have you on, Graham.
Thanks, Jean and Julie. Always lovely to talk to you.
Bob's Breakfast.